That joke isn't funny anymore. Available on Amazon and everywhere. Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast. I'm your host, Lou Perez, and I am so thrilled and honored and just so looking forward to this next episode because I'm joined by José Cordeiro. He is the author of The Death of Death. And for those of you who might not know Jose, he is a marketing genius. The man literally wears his work on his tie, in his hand, in his background. It's fantastic. Jose, thank you so much for joining me today.
It is my pleasure, Lou, to talk about the future and to talk about my favorite word, which is immortality. Well, I like liberty, freedom, but even more immortality.
Yeah. And it looks like, the both of us are alive. So right now we are beating death. I think we're winning. So.
Yes, but the goal actually is even more interesting than that. The goal is to rejuvenate people. What I'm working on and what the objective is to have biological rejuvenation so that we can live indefinitely young, not indefinitely old. No one wants that, but indefinitely young.
Yeah. And currently, so you're on tour. Your book has been translated into, I don't know how many languages, and you're in
15 languages. 15 languages.
15 and currently, right now, you are in Russia. And I think it's fun. Yeah, look, boom, look, the death of death in Russia. I'm going to take your word for it. That's what it says. Any of my Russian fans, feel free to get into the comments and point that out. And I couldn't help but notice that your trip to Russia, it perfectly aligns with the election in the United States. Are you going to get back here before November 5th, or when are you planning on coming back to the U.S.?
Later than the election, but it doesn't have to do anything with politics. This is a book about science. By the way, the name was changed in Russian. In Russian, it has a Russian name. It means death must die. It's like an order, in Russian. Death, you must die. Death must die. Also in Chinese, if you look above me, it's the name in Chinese. In Chinese, it means eternal life. Eternal life, because the word death is not good in Chinese. No one likes death in Chinese. So eternal life. And in Russian, death must die.
Death must die. And yeah, I'm here with you. I am not a fan of death. And what I'm wondering is there, because you've been, on this tour, you've been in all these different countries. Is there a country that is perhaps closer to getting the cure for death, closer to getting to immortality? Is there a country that's doing it the best?
Actually, yes, there are some countries. One is Japan. By the way, in Japan also the title of the book was changed, and it means the end of death. The end of death. That's the title of the book in Japanese. And it is advancing fast in Japan because it was actually a Japanese scientist who got the Nobel Prize in the year 2012 for rejuvenating a cell. He discovered that aging is a reversible biological process and that you can accelerate aging. I don't recommend it. You can aging, which is okay. But what is better is to reverse aging to become younger. And we know that this is possible since the year 2012 when Shinya Yamanaka got the Nobel Prize in Medicine. So Japan is actually doing a lot on rejuvenation technologies, also because it has the longest life expectancy in the world. Life expectancy in Japan is over 85 years. While in the USA, I think it is about 78 years only, which is a tragedy for an advanced country like the USA to be 7 years behind Japan.
How do they calculate, the country that has that will live the longest? Because I've heard that, some things come into play like car accidents or suicides. And is that the case when comparing to the United States to other countries around the world?
Yeah, well, these are international comparative statistics.
Okay.
And the United Nations keeps track of that. But you basically know when people are born, and you know when they die of any cause. It could be an accident, it could be a disease when they are young, or when they are old. So they compute these averages in each country. And there are also differences in each country. For example, sadly, even in New York, where you are, people living in Manhattan might live longer than people living in other parts of the city. I don't know the numbers, but I'm just guessing. The same in Japan. Japan has what is called a blue zone in the south in Okinawa Islands. The Okinawa Islands is one of the places in the world with the longest life expectancy. So these are statistical computations according to the age that people have lived to before they die. And this has been increasing throughout history, which is very interesting. At the time of the Roman Empire, it is estimated that average lifespan was only about 20 to 25 years. 2,000 years ago, 20 to 25 years. In the year 1900, it just went over 40. And now, in the year 2020, whatever, it is reaching 80 years. And as I mentioned, in Japan, over 85. In Spain is the second most longevous country among the big nations of the world. Spain is also close to 85 years of age. So anyway, going back to your question, which countries are doing a lot? One is Japan because of the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Another one is Spain. And as I told you, also there is a lot of life expectancy in Japan because of the Mediterranean diet and friendly people. We are very friendly.
I'll tell you what, Spain is probably my second favorite country, second to my own, the United States. I absolutely love Spain, and the time that I get to stay there, it is true. Especially the further south you go, I feel like the people are just so warm, and the food is incredible. And there's something about the beer too in Spain where I'm like, this beer tastes a lot healthier than anywhere else. Sometimes I feel that way.
Let me tell you another country that people would not expect to be interested in longevity. And actually, I just presented my book in Arabic.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're keeping track, this has to be the fifth or sixth translation that Jose has shared with us today.
I have more. Here with me. But anyway, in Arabic, that is read in the opposite direction, it means death is slowly dying. Death is slowly dying. And I asked, can we make it faster? Can we change it to death is quickly dying? But because of linguistic translations, they think this is a better title. Also, look at the cover. It has an hour clock with death running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I'm mentioning this because in Saudi Arabia, they created a foundation called Evolution Foundation, which means health plus evolution. Evolution Foundation with $20 billion just for biological rejuvenation. And they created with the X Prize Foundation in California, the biggest prize in human history, $101 million for biological rejuvenation in the year 2030, which is only 6 years away from now. So the goal of this competition is that we should be able to rejuvenate 10 years or more by the year 2030. So this is incredible. This is really a game changer. It's creating a disruption all over the world. There are hundreds of teams from around the planet, which are startups, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, universities, laboratories, individuals, participated in this prize. Already about 500 teams all over the planet. And half of the money comes from this foundation, Evolution Foundation. So even in Saudi Arabia, they are interested in curing aging and reversing aging. So Saudi Arabia, let me show you other countries. Spain, La Muerte de la Muerte. And then this is Bulgarian. It looks like Russian because it has the same alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, but this is Bulgarian. And it means the end of death, the end of death. So again, different countries, different titles, but the goal is the same, to kill death before death kills us. That's my goal, to kill death before death kills me.
When did you get into this? When did you decide this was sort of an avenue that you wanted to take in life, to go down this route?
A very good point, because I am an engineer from MIT, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and I worked all my life in energy. And then I switched from energy to longevity about 10 years ago for 3 reasons. One is that the Nobel Prize in Medicine, Shinya Yamanaka, in 2012 discovered that aging is reversible. To me, this is the most incredible discovery in history. Everybody should know that aging is reversible. So that to me was mind-blowing, seriously. Number 2, sadly, that my father died. And when you have a relative so close, like your father who dies, it makes you consider many, many things in life. In fact, I was living in California, and I left California to go to Spain because my father was from Spain, like my mother. And so I had to take my mother back to Spain to be with family. And then I decided to stay in Spain. But so my father died, the Nobel Prize in Medicine. And the third thing is that I was in California, as I mentioned, at Singularity University at that time.
Is that Ray Kurzweil?
Yes, Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis, both of whom studied also at MIT earlier than me. But yes, Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil started Singularity University in 2009. And it was there for the first 4 or 5 years. And people were talking about immortality. People were talking about biological rejuvenation. So this, to me, as an engineer working on energy, was truly, truly amazing. So I decided to change from energy into longevity.
Yeah. How old was your father when he passed away?
He died at age 81.
81.
My mother is still alive, and she's going to be 94. And she's in very good mental and physical shape. She should be better because the goal is rejuvenation. But she's doing well. She's doing well, even though she's going to be soon 94 years of age.
Yeah, because my father is 33 years old. My dad's 75, and my mother, she just turned 78. And both of them have had health issues over the years. And one of the things when talking to my dad, when my father was 8 years old, his father passed away very young. And he was a smoker, so he had I believe throat cancer, and my dad often will kind of map his own, future, I guess, future demise onto the fact that his father died at 56. So part of my dad says, my father only made it to 56. I'm at 75. Very thankful, to be where he is. But when it comes to parents, and you see, you described just how close that is, especially when someone very close to you dies. I was asked if I had a wish, what would that wish be? And I said my wish would be that my parents were 40 years younger. Like I would love them to be the way what they were, and in their 30s, and to be able to spend time with them then. So with this stuff, as far as rejuvenation, because like you said, it's not just about living; it's about living well and Thank God your mother is all there, in body and in mind. What are some of the things that people are doing now, or that you yourself are doing to help you get closer to the death of death?
Yes, and the death of death has to do with what we call longevity escape velocity. Longevity escape velocity is this idea that soon, very soon, in a few years, we are going to gain 1 year per year we survive. So that means we will be almost immortal, because we will live long enough to live forever if we want to keep on living, because we gain 1 year per year, 1 year per year, but it's still aging. And Ray Kurzweil, because you mentioned him, Ray Kurzweil talks about 2029 to 2030. So if we make it to 2030, which is also again in 6 years, we should be able to gain 1 year every year we survive. So we will be living longer and longer, but still aging until the second date that Ray Kurzweil gives, which is 2045. In 2045, he says that we will have biological rejuvenation for everybody who wants it. Biological rejuvenation, which is the goal. And I personally plan to be alive, not only in 2030 to reach longevity escape velocity, but also to 2045 to go through biological rejuvenation. So how can we make it to 2030 and 2045? Ray Kurzweil, in a book that is called Fantastic Voyage, Live Long Enough to Live Forever, he talks about 3 bridges to immortality. One bridge that takes you to the second bridge, that takes you to the third bridge, that takes you to immortality. So what is the first bridge? The first bridge was in the 2010s, and basically do what your mother told you. Eat well, sleep well, do exercise, don't drink too much, don't smoke, etc., etc., etc. Things that we know that work, and your mother tells them to you. So that's bridge 1. That makes us live until bridge 2, which is now in the 2020s, with the first biotechnology therapies. There are some therapies that are being developed. For example, some pharmaceutical products like metformin that we are discovering they are good for longevity. And people who take metformin live between 1 and 2 years more than people who don't take metformin. Not just diabetic people, because this was originally for diabetic people, but it was discovered that it is good for everybody. Everybody lives on average longer taking metformin. So I have been taking metformin for about 5 years. Another biotechnology therapy that I like to mention is rapamycin. Rapamycin makes animals live about 30, 40, 50% longer. And now it is undergoing human clinical trials, not just on animals. We need to check if it works on humans. So I am pretty sure in about 2 to 3 years, we will have scientific proof that rapamycin is also good for humans. Other therapies are senolytics. Senolytics are drugs that eliminate old cells in the body, zombie cells. We have zombie cells, senescent cells that don't want to die, but they are basically dead. So they are a problem for our body. They are like rotten apples that rotten all the other apples. So we need to eliminate these senescent cells, and for that we have senolytics. There are many supplements that we know are good, etc., etc. So this is the second bridge of biotechnology that will take us into the third bridge of nanotechnology. Nanotechnology. We move from bio to nano. Nano is smaller than biotechnology. We are talking at the level of atoms, at the level of molecules. So we are going to have like nano robots, nanobots in our bodies that will clean the cholesterol of our veins, our arteries, so that we don't have heart attacks. they will clean the plaque in our brain so that we don't get Alzheimer. So nanotechnology will be fantastic in the 2030s. And finally, we make it into the 2040s with artificial intelligence, and we will be able to rejuvenate at the latest, we hope, by 2045. So one bridge to another bridge to another bridge, we gain time. We gain time until we become immortal.
So how often do you get blood work done and that sort of thing? Because of that's something that I'm looking to do more of. I'm looking to get blood work like twice a year, and not just the regular blood tests that your doctor gives you when you're getting a checkup, but it's a deeper dives into what's lacking and what I need to work on and that sort of thing.
I do it every 6 months.
6 months.
And actually, yes, I do a complete blood analysis. Also, I measure other body liquids or body parts, if you want. I measure also, which is normal, with urine. Also, the what is called the microbiome, the bacteria on our mouth and also in the back behind.
Right.
We have a lot of bacteria in our intestines and in our digestive apparatus. So it is important to know there are correlations between age and the type of bacteria that we have in our body, inside and outside. Also, well, many things like that are important to keep track of. But I am not crazy. Some people are really fanatics. And probably one of the most famous ones is Bryan Johnson.
I was going to bring him up. That when you said I'm not crazy, the picture of that guy popped up in my head, and I said, "You're not crazy, Jose, but that guy is."
Yeah. Bryan Johnson is probably the most famous biohacker. He's hacking his biology. He's hacking his body, his health. He's doing it with his money and with his body. So I find that okay. If you are willing to do with your body and with your money what you want to learn and to experiment on yourself, is fantastic. So, but he's not crazy. He has a team of 20 medical doctors, and he puts about $2 million on his health, not just on blood work, but in many other therapies that he's undergoing. He's doing some gene therapies and some other quite fascinating experiments, because this is experimental. And I am actually happy that people like him, biohackers, are willing to open the way, open the road into longevity research.
Yeah. It's definitely overall, I think, a good thing that he's doing that kind of experimentation on himself. The one thing though, when I see him, I'm like, he doesn't look that young. I don't. It's sort of. I'm 42, and I'm looking at that guy, and I'm like, oh, he looks like he's like, close to 50. I don't know. There's something about.
He's 46. He's 46.
I thought he was older than 46 just by looking at him, because there's like a pallor that he has, and his hairline and shit, and whatever. But I'm happy he's doing it. What about you? How old are you, Jose?
I am 62.
You look great. You see, you look great though. That's the thing. Bryan needs to learn from you, because you're looking good at 62. Actually,
me in my tie looks even younger.
Yeah.
Because this picture is from 4 or 5 years ago, before the pandemic. So I do look younger in my tie than in myself.
Well, I appreciate you not being naked for this this conversation, because you could be like, yo, Lou, I look real young. You're when you do.
Well, this is one thing that Bryan Johnson does. Let me tell you, this is quite fascinating. I just interviewed him a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
On a podcast as well. And he's the most measured person in history. He measures every part of his body. He measures his glucose levels, his urine, his blood, everything, including his penis.
Of course, you got to measure your penis. Yeah.
Yes, at night he puts like 2 little rings to measure his nighttime erections. And he says publicly that he has bedtime erections similar to an 18-year-old boy, like his own son. He says he has erections better than his son.
Well, that knowing that you have erections better than your son, that's something. Does he say how big it is in centimeters or inches? What's he walking around with? Maybe he keeps that secret. That's a little secret. That's kind of interesting. I have two sons, and my two sons. One of the things about their penises, and this is the only thing I'll say about my son's penises, is they're not circumcised. Dad, me, I'm circumcised. My parents made a mistake, but we kept them. Yeah, the death of death. With my sons, it's the death of circumcision. No circumcision for my boys, because now they get to live their own life. A lot of dads, I guess, want their sons to have a similar looking penis, but not me. I said, no. You guys go your own way. That's it.
Well, let me tell you. Also, I'm not circumcised because in Spanish culture, it is not, or it wasn't at that time. It was not common to go through circumcision. So, I'm like your children. You see, that is why I look young.
It's the el cuero, right? Little, I call it a little himón ibérico, and I just keep a little bit on there.
Yes.
That's funny. So what I find interesting is it seems like now more than anything, more and more people, even like the lay person, is more interested in their health, and whether that's using supplementation, changing their diets, exercise, of course. More and more people are doing what they can to, live healthier, longer lives. But then I look at a country like Canada, where now instead of, universal healthcare, it seems like they have universal death care as well, where you can go to Canada, or you could be a Canadian citizen, and you can rely on the government to euthanize you. So while, Jose and other engineers and people are trying to live longer, happier lives, in Canada, they're like, oh no, we want to make it easier for one to not defeat death, for death to defeat the individual. So what do you make of that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, I think we live in incredible times. We are in between the last mortal generation and the first immortal generation. So it has never been good to die, never. But now, especially, it's very bad because we are very close to immortality. So the value of life has increased because we know we are close to immortality. I am saying this because still people will die, sadly, in the next few years, 5 years, maybe 10 years, also because of accidents. And if you die, then we have plan B. So again, plan A is immortality, but it's not here yet. So if you die before plan A, we have plan B, which is called cryonics. Cryonics is freezing people, basically, so that most viewers and people listening to this understand. It's like freezing people. Many experts talk about Walt Disney, but Walt Disney was not really frozen. But hundreds of people have been frozen after he died. He died in December 1966, and the first person that was frozen or cryonically suspended was in January of 1967. And there are hundreds of people. So I am saying this because if you are close to dying, and if you have Alzheimer's, for example, if you have Alzheimer's, you don't want to wait to be frozen when you die, because then you don't have a brain. You have nothing to keep because your brain is gone. Alzheimer's is one of the worst diseases because you lose yourself, you lose your mind. Other diseases, in a way, are easier in terms of dying because they are quick and they can be, in fact, calculated when they might happen, like cancer. Cancer, you might estimate when someone is going to die of cancer so that you can freeze the person if they want to be frozen, of course. So for that, you can plan euthanasia. And I am in favor of that type of euthanasia because it gives the opportunity to be frozen when you are still okay, not when you are not okay, when you don't have a brain, when you died already of Alzheimer's.
This is the first time. I'm sorry, Jose. This is the first time that I'm hearing about the euthanasia to cryonics, the cryogenics pipeline. Like I've never heard that before.
Yeah, well, this is new because euthanasia is also beginning. And I don't like sometimes how this is being promoted because I think life is the most valuable thing. So I don't believe in death in any way, and I don't believe in dying. But if you are going to die and if you have no choice, if you're going to die in the next 2 months, so you might die in a planned way so that you can be frozen. And this is now being done also in Europe. You can fly to Switzerland and to decide, okay, I want to be frozen. You know, I am tired or my brain is beginning not to work properly. I'm forgetting even the name of my wife. So I want to be frozen. But anyway, this is plan B. Plan B. I don't want to get into plan B. Plan A is for all of us. I think people who are under 70 or even early 70s, we should be able to make it into plan A of biological rejuvenation. First, reaching longevity escape velocity in 2030, and then rejuvenating around 2045 or hopefully earlier. And I don't know if I would like to explain that immortality already exists. People sometimes are surprised when I tell them, you know, we are working on immortality, but it already exists in biology. In fact, there are some animals that are called biologically immortal. That means that they don't age. They don't age. They can always die because if a rock falls on the animal or if a piano falls on my head, I will probably die, even if I'm not aging in the future. So
that's the way I want to go. If I'm going to go, I want a piano dropped on my head like a Looney Tune. Yeah.
Good. Me too. But actually, I don't want to die at all.
I hear you.
People have probably heard that there are some jellyfish, immortal jellyfish, and also hydras. Hydras are also biologically immortal. This means that they don't age and they could live for centuries. They could live for millennia if nothing kills them because they don't age. They do not die of aging because they do not age. But besides these animals and some other small animals, we in our bodies have cells that do not age. Like germ cells. The germ cells, which are used for reproduction in our bodies and in all multicellular organisms, we have two types of cells. Somatic cells, which make the body, soma, body in Greek, somatic cells make the body. Those cells age. But germ cells for reproduction, they do not age. So if we take our germ cells from our bodies, they can live indefinitely. So we have the best cells, the germ cells in our bodies that do not age. They die when the soma, when the somatic cells, when the body dies, but they do not age. And also there is another type of cells that discover immortality, which is cancer. Cancer cells stop aging and they become biologically immortal. That is why we need to kill cancer, because cancer doesn't die. Cancer doesn't age and it doesn't die on its own. So, because cancer actually eats the body until it reaches metastasis, which is the collapse of the body, then cancer cells keep on growing and reproducing, growing and reproducing. So, cancer cells discover immortality. They stop aging. And let me tell you, cancer cells didn't go to MIT like me, you know. In fact, they didn't go to school. They don't even know how to read or write. And they discover immortality without going to school, without knowing how to read. They discover immortality. That is why I am so excited because we are close to discovering the secrets of cancer, how cancer discovered immortality to stop aging. So remember me, let's watch this podcast in 5 to 10 years, because I'm pretty sure in 5 to 10 years, we will have cured almost all cancers.
That would be incredible. Except unless there's somebody out there who's going to teach cancer how to read and write, and then that's going to turn out terribly.
And go to university. Yeah,
Go to university. Yeah, imagine that you go and you have leukemia next to you, sitting. You're like, what the hell? Years ago. I mean, this is probably over 10, 11 years ago. I went to a conference in Piedmont, California, right outside of Oakland, and it was I think a transhumanist gathering, and a lot of the people there didn't seem necessarily into the idea of extending their biology, but they were more into this idea of kind of uploading their consciousness to a cloud of sorts and kind of living their life either in an avatar or something like that. And this was 10 years ago. And I remember at the time looking around the room and thinking, oh, most of these people aren't even going to make it to the year 2025, let alone 2045. So, with that, I mean, that's a bummer, right? I mean, it seems like, the people being born today are more likely to achieve that dream of the, immortality than, someone born in, the 1960s,
Yes, I have been born in 1962. That is why I am 62 years of age. But you are making a very important point, because we are going to reach immortality, not just once, but twice. Why? Because we are going to have biological immortality through biological rejuvenation, thanks to the secret of species like the immortal jellyfish, the immortal hydras, or also lobsters. Lobsters are biologically immortal. The problem is they keep on growing and growing and growing, and they are so tasty.
I was going to say they're so delicious. That's their own fault. If they weren't delicious, we would just let them go.
Yes. And they are vulnerable when they keep on growing and growing, because they need to change their clothes every year, because they outgrow their clothing, to put it that way. So they are vulnerable for a few days when they grow their new, how do you call it?
Shell, carapace. Yeah.
Yeah, the shell, whatever. So they are vulnerable. And also, if another animal decides to eat them, like humans. So, but also it was discovered that lobsters are full of stem cells in their body. They are some of the animals that have more stem cells, which are fundamental for life, and that make lobsters to keep on growing and staying young. Lobsters, people have estimated lobsters of 100, 120, 150 years old lobsters having little lobsters. They are active sexually. At age 120, they don't lose any of their capabilities, even when they are big lobsters.
Dirty old lobsters.
Yes.
Still having kids. So what are
Oh no. Let me go back to the two types of immortality.
Oh yeah, please.
We will have biological immortality, and this again, we know that immortality already exists in biology. That is why we are not talking about something science fiction or something philosophical or religious. No. Biology already invented immortality. And there are immortal cells and there are immortal organisms. So we will have that biological immortality. But additionally, we are going to have computational immortality. We are going to be able to read our minds. And Neuralink, this new company by Elon Musk, Neuralink wants to read your mind. And once it reads your mind, you can upload it into the cloud or create a robotic body for your mind. or play in a video game forever.
Wow. Yeah,
Be
yeah,
Pac-Man forever.
yeah. The transhumanist stuff, I think, freaks me out. Probably because I am my body, and this is so much what I'm used to, and I don't have necessarily have a desire to leave my body behind. I want to enjoy everything that I have. Like I love, being able to taste, being able to touch. I'm a big fan of my own penis, although I don't measure it as much as our Bryan Johnson, whatever his name is, which is a great last name for somebody who measures their penis in their sleep. It's a perfect name. So yeah, I'm always, there's like that part that kind of freaks me out. And I think, are you familiar with the series Black Mirror? By any chance?
Yes.
And in every single Black Mirror episode, it's there's some horror associated with technology. So, one of the episodes they have is they want to punish somebody. So rather than putting them in a jail for 20 years, they basically upload their mind and make their mind feel as though they have spent 20 years in prison. And then, they come back to their everyday life. So stuff like that, I'm like, as exciting, and I'm sure, as all of the incredible positive things that can happen down the line, there's some stuff out there that still freaks me out that I'm a little afraid of.
However, technology is changing exponentially, and
Yeah.
I am convinced that we will be able to read brains very soon. In fact, Neuralink is already reading many things in the brain of the first patients. And let me tell you something, which is quite interesting. When I went to MIT 40 years ago, I used these. These are called the IBM punch cards. There were different sizes, but this is like a standard. It was 10 by 100 rows.
And you just carry that around with you? You have all your books, and then you have that with you? It's 2024, Jose.
Yes, but I make presentations.
Okay,
and I
all
show
right, now it makes sense.
the history. So this is 1K of memory, 10 by 100, 1,000, 1K. I used this at MIT 40 years ago. And the problem, once you use this, you had to make holes. And once you made holes, you could not change it. And therefore, the first electromagnetic memories were invented. And I have one here, 8 inches big.
Look at that.
And it was also 1K. The first generation was 1K. But this 1K was better because, one, you could erase. And second, it had a bigger hole.
Yeah.
So 40 years ago, we had one mechanical K and one electromagnetic K. As we say in Spanish, the letter K, is K. So I say we have 1K plus 1K makes 1 caca. 1 caca. I used 1 caca of memory when I was at MIT. I used caca. But now I have a pen drive of 1 terabyte. This is 1 terabyte. I moved from caca to terabytes. And this keeps on going. This is exponential technologies. And in 20 years, we are going to have billions of terabytes, smaller than this, connected to our brain. I think this is coming. It's like having the mobile phone in your brain, a really big, powerful brain with internet connection. So remember this, Lou, because in 20 years, you need to remember caca. But this will not be caca. Caca will be 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte will be caca in 20 years.
I have a show tonight in Manhattan, and I might steal your caca joke. We'll see. You know what I'm worried about with the Neuralink though? With my phone, and I have an iPhone. Where is it? There it is. And I have an iPhone too. I keep getting all these spam calls, and I'm wondering how upset I would be if I get this Neuralink and then I have all these people from India and Bangladesh spam calling me, and I'm going to want to punch my head out.
Well, you will have a personal digital assistant that will filter the messages. So don't worry, because there will be messages from India, from Pakistan, as you said, from Nigeria, Ethiopia, maybe Mexico, Brazil.
Yeah. That would be, man, the future is. I'm happy that even the scary stuff, you're delivering it with a smile and so much positivity, Jose. That you're disarming me. That you know what, I think I'm going to go into the great future that we have with a more of a positive outlook for sure. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, this is something that I found out when we were in Las Vegas together at the Freedom Fest. Not only did you go to MIT and were you an engineer, but you're also a professor, and one of your students is a pretty well-known president of Argentina named Javier Milei. And for one, what does it feel like to just see one of your students, become president of Argentina? I mean, what is that?
Yeah, actually, where I gave classes, where I met him was in Buenos Aires, in Universidad de Belgrano University, where he was a student. We are talking about the year 2000, the year
Wow.
2000, like 24 years ago, long time ago. He was a student, and he was, a very dynamic student, as he is now. He's very hyperkinetic. He's moving, raising his hands. He had a lot of hair. So, I thought, this guy is a genius. A genius. This guy has so much energy, so much intelligence. He's into so many things. Even though he studied economics, and I actually talked to him about dollarization and monetary policy, fiscal policy. These were the subjects we also talked. Because, by the way, at MIT, you have to have a major and also a minor. My major is in engineering, mechanical engineering, and my minor is in economics. So I am also basically an economist. And this is how I met Javier Milei over 20 years ago. And I thought he was a genius, really. So we became friends because I liked his style. I liked his energy, and like my energy also. And we were friends. He came to the book launching of my book in Spanish just before the pandemic. He has my book autographed from 2019, before he was president. So he has the autograph. And then he said he loves my book because he wants to be immortal also. So we get along very well, and I am so happy. Javier Milei is the best thing that has happened to Argentina in a century. He is revolutionary. He's visionary. He's hyperactive, and he knows a lot about everything, not just about economics. And he really wants to change Argentina. He wants Argentina to become what it used to be called first world, a developed nation, like Argentina was. Argentina was a century ago one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Actually, I think you know that from your own family, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was incredible because first Argentina wins the World Cup. Messi finally, gets his World Cup. And then out of all the countries in the world to elect a libertarian anarcho-capitalist, it's Argentina. And I was like, this is you talk about fantasy. This didn't seem real.
And let's not talk about the Pope, because the Pope is also
Argentina. Oh, right. Yeah. Although I think people have been asking, there's that quip. They're like, oh, is the Pope Catholic? And now people are like, wait, is the Pope Catholic? Because he doesn't seem to be. He doesn't seem to be at this point.
Well, actually, you could say, and is the Pope socialist?
Right. Yeah. So what do you? So you're from Venezuela originally, and then you grew up in Spain. Is that how?
Well, actually, this is kind of interesting also. My parents are Spanish, but they left Spain when Spain had a dictatorship, Francisco Franco, for 40 years, and Spain was very poor. Spain was poor and a dictatorship, and Venezuela was very rich and a democracy. So imagine, When I was born, Venezuela was a democracy and very wealthy country, and Spain was poor and a dictatorship. And now, as we say, the tortilla turned around, and now Venezuela is dirty, poor, and horrible dictatorship, and Spain is relatively democratic and relatively wealthy. So you can see how changes can occur very quickly. And you can go rich very quickly, and you can grow poor also very quickly, like it happened in Venezuela. So that is why I am optimistic about Argentina and about even Venezuela and about humanity. Because once we begin applying good economic policy, which is freedom policy, libertarian policy, countries grow fast.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, have you? When do you think? I mean, there are a lot of predictions, like you say, as far as reaching those milestones towards longevity, towards immortality. How soon do you think a country like Venezuela can turn itself around, or how soon before the socialism is dumped in the trash can of history?
Well, I like to do technological forecasting because it is more predictable. In fact, let me go back to caca.
Yeah, show me. Let's get the caca again.
This is caca. This, do you remember how much was this? 5.25 inches. This was 512 cacas. From one caca to 512 cacas, and then 1.4 mega. We went from cacas to mega, and now we have tera. So technology is relatively easy to forecast. Politics is crazy. Well, who knows what is going to happen in the USA or in Russia? I am in Russia, so I should not speak very loud.
I was saying you're being a little loud, Jose. I don't know which room you're in.
Yeah, I am in the hotel room here. But anything can happen in Russia also. In fact, many websites here are blocked, like Twitter. There is no X here. There is no Facebook. There is no LinkedIn. And I use all of this to stay in touch with my friends. And I cannot see them in LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, unless I use VPNs, virtual private networks. But I don't like to use them. And for 1 week, I say, okay, I will wait 1 week to stay in touch with my friends. But, Zoom or this streaming system, StreamYard, are not blocked in Russia. Anyway, talking about political forecasting, very, very difficult. Very difficult. But I am optimistic, and I believe that the world is becoming so much global and so much more interconnected, exponentially more so, because everybody has a mobile phone. Everybody, even in Cuba, in North Korea, people are beginning to have mobile phones because they cost, if you buy a Chinese one or an Indian one, you can get them for $20. So I think the world will be more connected. People will see the realities in the good countries versus the bad countries. And I'll tell you another one. Talking about good and bad countries. I have 2 passports.
Look at that.
I have the Spanish and the Venezuelan passport. The Spanish I use for the good countries. And for the bad countries, I use the Venezuelan passport because they have agreements. The axis of evil countries have agreements. So no visa required. Let me show you. I came into Russia, no visa.
No visa.
No. You see, this is my stamp. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that they just put the stamp. But if I came with the Spanish one, I need a visa. And it takes months to get the visa if they give me one, and it costs $200. With the axis of evil passport, no cost and no visa.
I had no idea that this was going to turn into a travel hack show. This is how you get around, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Jose, where's your next stop? So you're in Russia now, and I'm sure everything's going to be good. Whatever agent they have assigned to you to listen to your conversation, they're going to be very happy. Where's your next stop?
I am actually going to Texas from here because there is a new cryonics experiment being built, which is called Time Ship, to go into the future. I will be there for 5 days, and then I go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi because they are interested in longevity. Remember, in slowly killing death, even though I could kill death very quickly. I don't like death. I am an enemy of death. I don't
grab death right by the throat and say, "Get out of here." Yeah.
Yes.
Well, on your travels, if they ever need a comedian, let them know that this comedian does not like death whatsoever. And I'm riding right alongside you.
Beautiful. I want to see many jokes about killing death.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had the honor, the privilege of speaking to the author of The Death of Death, José Cordeiro, who is now blowing up a balloon that he will explain to you right now.
Yes, this is my campaign in Spain, which is called Stop Envejecimiento, which means aging, stop aging. So my goal is to stop aging and then reverse aging. So I like to tell my friends, we need to kill death very quickly. We are between the last mortal generation and the first immortal generation. And I am a Trekkie. I am a fan of Star Trek. So, I always say goodbye like this: live long and prosper.
That explains our emails, which you've been ending with that. Live long and prosper. Jose, I got to tell you, I've enjoyed speaking to you in person. You're the type of person, like I said before, you bring a lot of joy to this, which I think is so important in a positive look towards the future. And I hope everybody who listens to me and watches this will go and pick up the book. You can pick it up in any language. I mean, really any language. José Cordeiro, thank you so much.
Thank you. Live long and prosper, my friend.